So we're recording now, right? Okay, cool. Hello, you are James from Change.org.
I am.
How's it going? What do you do over at Change.org?
My official title is Senior Manager of Customer Service and Support. Essentially, what that means is I oversee our global support operations and efforts on a daily basis.
Okay, fantastic. And Change.org has, I believe, 250 million users in 196 countries.
Yeah.
I mean, how is it even possible to provide a great customer experience for all those people?
It's challenging, but if I could sum up in one word, it's consistency. Once you understand what you want to do and really fine-tune the best way to provide support or just a general experience across the platform, you start nailing it consistently day in, day out, no matter where a person is, what language they speak. That consistency is what helps us get us there, for sure.
I mean, how do you deliver that consistency? I mean, is it, well, how many people are you interacting with, say, on like a weekly basis?
Across the world, our support team itself will handle roughly about 1,000 different interactions just on a support side. We do also receive abuse flags for problematic content on our platform, and that receives about 1,500 flags a week as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
Pretty big scale. And how big is the team that is, able to kind of, handle all of that?
The team is actually relatively small. Most days we're running between 8 and 10 people for the entire support organization.
Just globally?
Yeah.
And are you all based in one place, or?
Most of us. So I work remotely outside of Toronto.
Okay.
We have Zoe Silver, who's the head of the department, and Jim and Lee, who's our trust and safety lead, sitting in San Francisco. Mm-hmm. And then our support team actually works remotely outside in Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. And then we have a few contractors that work remotely around the world as well.
Wow, okay. And I mean, 196 countries, I imagine, not everyone speaks English or yeah. So, I mean, how do you, like, what kind of percentage of the people you're interacting with in other languages, and I guess how do you go about that?
So we have probably about 45% of all our interactions are English.
Okay.
So trickle down from there, we'll see Spanish and Russian, Italian, Turkish, almost you name the language, we'll receive some volume of that on a weekly basis. So for the most part, where we can, we'll try to staff somebody who speaks that native language in-house. And those are generally going to be our French, our Spanish, Russian, and German. Every other language, unfortunately, it doesn't make sense for us to hire for that given the volume. And so we'll use someone like Babbel to help translate those messages out to our users.
Nice. Okay, we got the brand mention out of the way, so we can kind of move on to other stuff. So obviously, 223 million users around the world, doing everything from animal rights, to politics. What kind of petitions are on the rise at the moment? Where is the trend, or where are people, making the most use out of Change.org at the moment?
Yeah, at the moment, like you said, it's very topical based. It's very hard to predict what's happening on our platform on a daily or even sometimes hourly basis, because we can go viral with certain issues. So a lot of the times what you'll see on our platform is very reflective of what you see in the news. When Donald Trump was elected, we saw a whole slew of petitions around that, both in favor and against. The recent French elections, the same sort of thing around the political candidates there. Right now, there's a lot of animal justice petitions happening on our platform, and there's also a lot around women's rights that's really big on our platform at this particular moment.
So, I mean, you've been at Change.org since when?
Since early 2013.
Since early 2013, and how have things changed, for the company, like over the past 5 or so years?
Quite a lot.
Yeah.
When I joined the organization, we were sitting at around 40 million users. Mm-hmm. So between then and now, we've gone to, like you said, 223 million and counting every day. And so there's a lot of scale that needs to get built into that. So not only from my team and support have we had to learn how to scale and trial and error, but same thing with the organization itself. Trying to really figure out how do we grow every aspect of the organization to meet our users' demands and ensure that we're always providing that absolute best service at all times. Mm-hmm. And again, making sure our product is as easy to use as possible.
So I guess the team didn't grow by 6 times, or did it to match that?
It did not.
No, it did not. No. But that's what I mean. Like, I guess you end up having to do more with the same. I mean,
that's right.
What's the split there? I think between, I don't know, is it a matter of process? Is it a matter of technology? Like, what's the kind of inside story of how you kind of scale that?
Well, like many startups, we have a certain budget to operate in, and most companies in general have a budget to operate in. So once we got close to a budget, like you said, we couldn't just keep hiring people to speak more languages or bring on these new fancy products. So we had to figure out, how do we scale with the organization? And one of the biggest things that we started working on was case deflection and public knowledge bases, and helping make sure that common questions that users could find answers for or resolve themselves, they knew how to do that. They didn't need to wait for us to respond to them and go through everything else when they could do it themselves very quickly, very easily. It also made sure that our team were handling the most relevant questions that they had to handle themselves. And that made a tremendous difference and made sure that we didn't have to keep hiring people. And that today is serving as one of our biggest priorities. It's just making sure that users have the information that they need, that they're able to help themselves when they need to, and then when they do need our team's assistance, that we're able to respond as quickly as we can.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the bigger trends in customer experience, customer support, isn't it? Where, it's self-help is, it seems like, to some people it might have instinctually felt like, oh, we're just fobbing people off, but actually most people want to take care of issues themselves.
That's
right. So in the past couple of years, we've seen, the rise of artificial intelligence and machine learning tools within, within most areas of business these days. I mean, what kind of tools are you seeing or using or excited about in that field that it will enable you to do a better job?
Yeah, it's a really exciting trend that's happening right now because I can see a lot of benefit, and I've seen other organizations use it. I think the biggest thing that I can see for us is kind of like chatbots of what you're seeing where if somebody can't help themselves with some basic information, then maybe their issue's too complex or requires things that need to be done automated or through automation in the back end, chatbots can actually help with a lot of those things. We can program them to say, okay, well, this is what this person's asking for. I can do this automatically. So even then, if the user can't do it themselves, we can still avoid having to actually get a human person, to step in and do that. And again, not only is that going to save a lot of time for our users and our customers and make sure that they're getting what their needs are fulfilled, getting their needs fulfilled, but on our end, it's a huge cost savings as well. And again, it helps us focus on those issues that we really need to focus on. So I think that's the biggest shift that we're going to see in AI in the coming years.
So you said, there's about a dozen people in the team worldwide? Or?
Yeah, probably between 8 and 10 at any given time.
8 and 10 at any given time. So like, how do you divide that work? And what are their areas of expertise? And how do you measure success within the team?
Yeah, so like I said, at the head we have Zoe Silver, who kind of oversees the whole department. Then we have myself, who oversees the whole support side, and Jim and Lee supports our trust and safety efforts. So, like I said, we route everything based off of priority and based off of type. So if it's something that needs to be reviewed for possible problematic content, that'll go over to Jim. And if it's something that's support related, that'll go through my team. We'll route first based off language to make sure that we have the appropriate person responding, and then based off of skill type. So if somebody's asking for help with petition, that could go to one person. If it could be a billing question, that could go to somebody else. But because we are such a small team, everybody's cross-trained across the board with everything.
Nice. And then what are the kind of the metrics that you're looking after to ensure that you're delivering the service that you want? I mean, is it customer satisfaction, response time, things like that? Like,
yeah, we measure against a few different KPIs, but everything goes off of customer satisfaction. That is the most important thing to us. Everything else that we measure is based off of that. So we want to make sure users are absolutely satisfied. So we'll look at stuff like response time. We'll look at things like quality assurance scores internally. We'll look at things like that. But they all surface up to customer satisfaction. So we want to make sure that that is always our number one priority.
And you have satisfied customers?
We do. We do.
Fantastic. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, so a few years ago, Harvard Business Review said there was an article where they said, "Stop trying to delight your customers. Delighting them doesn't build loyalty, but reducing the effort that they have to resolve their problems is." I mean, do you agree with that? I mean, from your own experience, how do you build brand loyalty for Change.org through a better customer experience?
Yeah, that's a great question. I agree and I disagree at the same time, because you need to make sure that, like I was saying earlier, the customer's effort on your platform is really paramount. Making sure that the reason they're on your platform is fulfilled quickly and easily and effectively. But also at the same time, when they need to contact a support team, the same sort of principles need to apply. They need to make sure that they're getting fast responses, accurate responses, and that their issues are being resolved quickly. On the other end of the spectrum, though, we do need to delight our customers. We need to exceed expectations whenever possible. So I think there's two sides to that. In terms of building loyalty on the platform, it's the same sort of thing, showing appreciation, showing that what people do on their petition really makes a difference, showing that their signatures really help create the change that they want to see in the world. Same thing with petition starters, that hey look, your petition's fantastic, it's going viral, or you're getting a lot of traction, keep it going. Like really show that, look, every single signature counts. Same thing in a voting system, every vote counts. And it really does.
I mean, when you were looking for, how were you dealing with that previously? So if you didn't have people that spoke those languages, what was the process actually? Like, how did it start?
It was not an ideal process. If we absolutely could not find somebody that speak that language, because we might bring on short-term contractors, which had its own slew of issues, then we were forced to use just kind of a Google Translator or an equivalent type of tool, and they just basically say, hey, sorry, like we don't speak your language, we'll do our best to help you out. Here's it in English, and here's it in your local language.
Okay.
So we always tried to help our users whatever way possible, but obviously using a service like that is never going to be an ideal solution.
And when you started to, when did you realize that you needed to kind of find something that was better than contractors or just copy pasting kind of Google Translate stuff? Like what was
quite honestly, right around the time
discovery
when we had to start figuring that solution out, once we started saying, okay, we're getting too many questions in these languages, because if it's a one-off, that's one thing, right? But when you start seeing consistent volumes coming in languages that you just can't support, you have to figure out an interim solution, you have to figure out a long-term solution. So our interim solution was those short-term contractors, and it was Google Translate where we needed to, but we then had to also at the same time figure out a long-term solution.
Which was?
Which was on Baldwin.
There we go. So what were some of the challenges around finding a vendor to help with that solution?
Price is always going to be a problem, or at least a concern, because that everything falls under price. But from there is looking at integration and quality. We couldn't find anyone that seamlessly integrated with our existing services and our existing flows, and also provided good quality, or also did it at a reasonable price point. That was the biggest challenge for us. When we found Unbabble, we were really pleasantly surprised because at the time we were using Zendesk, and that natively just seamlessly sat in with everything that we were doing. The price was very attractive for us, and the quality was outstanding. So for us, it was a no-brainer.
Thank you for helping me do my job. Like, where do you see Change.org kind of 5 years from now?
There's no way for me to answer that, honestly. Because if you'd asked me where Change.org would have been 5 years previous to this, there's no way we could have told you where we are today. And I think a lot of that comes to us evolving our platform for our users and what their needs are. So if for some reason petitions aren't effective in 5 years, we'll pivot to something that is. I can't foresee us ever doing that, because right now we're seeing tremendous growth, we're seeing tremendous success in the petition product itself. But yeah, that's a very difficult question for us to really answer with how fast technology moves, how fast industries and trends move as well.
Have you ever started a petition?
Have I started a petition?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, are you willing to disclose any of them, or?
Yeah, I don't want to go into too much detail. For me, it was a local issue in my town that I was concerned with how property management was being maintained, and so I petitioned our local city mayor to just basically say, hey, like, can we do something to improve this flow?
And did it work?
Yes and no.
Okay.
They definitely did improve the services. We didn't see as much reaction on terms of, or the mayor themselves did not respond to the petition, which sometimes happen, but at the end of the day, what I set out to achieve was accomplished, and so I consider that a win.
Nice. And if someone wanted to start a petition today, it's as easily as just going to change.org, isn't it?
That's right.
Yeah.
You can go on the change.org, hit start a petition. We have a super simple flow set up. Just tell us what you're trying to petition, who is trying to go against, and then we'll help you the rest of the way. We have all sorts of tools and guides set up to help make it as successful as you'd like it to be. You don't need to have a whole lot of experience in advocacy. You don't have to be really good on a computer. You could have a grandmother who's never really seen the internet start a petition, or you could have young whiz kids in high school start a petition. It doesn't really matter.
Nice. Thanks so much, James.
Thanks a lot.
Pleasure having you.
Pleasure.
Cool. That's a wrap.